questions we wrestle with as Christians about who God is, how do we live out our faith, what is the Bible, what is the truth of the Bible, what are we supposed to believe, how are we supposed to live. There are really big, deep questions that we ask each other, that we ask God, that we wrestle with ourselves. And that's why the Cultivate podcast exists, to help us go deeper in our understanding of who God is, His Word, and the way that He's called us to live. Hey everyone, welcome to the Cultivate podcast with the Grove Church. I'm Charlie Loften, I'm the lead pastor there, and we are here with
Bagel Boone, DJ
Boone,
Bagel,
MC Bagel.
MC Bagel.
How does it feel? Now we're 2 episodes in, you kind of like DJing and
honestly helps me focus 10 times more.
Really? Well, maybe 100%. I need some headphones.
Yeah. It also sounds really good.
Oh, okay.
There's no echo. It's just honed in. So now we need to get Mark. There's so many people that say Mark has the best podcast voice.
Really?
It's so deep and rumbly, you know? And so I'm sure if I had these in, I'd be like, ooh.
Ooh.
Movie
rumbly.
narrator.
Right. Well, we are
still in parables.
You think, no, you say it differently than that.
We're still in parables.
We're still doing some parables.
Yeah, man.
Right. So I don't know if I told you this, but I've been listening to a bunch of church history podcasts.
Yes,
which I know is going to get you, which you're going to get excited about.
Mm-hmm.
And I was listening to these group of guys, and they were, you know, it's this church history event that I've been really researching is not only one of the most important things in church history, probably one of the most significant events in Western history. This battle that Constantine won in 314.
Okay.
Anyway, so I'm listening to these guys. They're not coming at it from a Christian perspective at all. And I've noticed listening to these podcasts, there seem to be 2 different kinds of...
Is it the Tom Holland podcast?
Tom Holland?
The historian, not the
No,
actor.
I've heard of that one.
It's really good.
I've tried. I was confused by it. It's like, and it, you know, and they kind of narrated these acts of history and a little more acting. And I was like, the fact that the name was Tom Holland,
I know,
and they were acting like there's acting involved. I was like,
I have a book by Tom Holland right now that I'm reading,
but it is in fact not Spider-Man.
Correct. My roommate was like, Spider-Man wrote a book about church history.
He did.
It's like, yeah, man.
So there seems to be 2 different kinds of podcasts, especially when it comes to history.
Yeah.
And the first one is, hello everyone, welcome to the Roman Ancient History Podcast. And today we're going to be talking about Constantine the Great.
It's very navel gazer.
Yeah, just very like, you can imagine this guy, he probably a tough hang. But really smart.
Yeah. And
then there were these guys.
Yeah. And
at one point, they just went off at 2 different times on 2 different kind of 5-minute rants, sidetrack, whatever, about horses, how they hate horses.
Oh, why?
And and then also how interesting would it be to read war from a horse perspective, like if horse had their own horsepedia, like Wikipedia, and like this is a horse's perspective, you know,
I would like
these
the Mongolian horse
ride these horses into battles, you know, and thousands of horses dies and no one seems to care. Like, but then we go from that to, but actually it's okay because we hate horses, and it was
sure.
and then all of a sudden, and back to Constantine, and it's like, okay guys, I feel like we fall
a little bit in between that.
Somewhere in between those 2.
I would want the Mongolian horse history.
Oh, yeah?
100%. Have you seen those guys ride sideways on them to attack?
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Insane. Absolutely insane. Also, there's a clip, I'll send it to you later, of Steve Carell on a podcast, and a caller calls in to say how much he hates horses that have bangs. He's like, they look stupid. And then Steve Carell's like, what a weird thing. And then he sees a picture and he's like, done for. They do look stupid.
Actually, I agree now.
Didn't know, but yeah, you're right.
I just don't have very strong opinions about horses, actually. Well, now that we're here, I'm allergic to horses.
Really?
Like, I used to think I was...
Horses specifically,
like there was
fur?
something that I was allergic to outside, but only at various times. It's like one time... Like I was at Camp War Eagle and walking around with Layla, and we, of course, at one point we went to the horses.
Sure.
And And then I had some real bad allergies, and I was like, I'm just walking around camp. I'm assuming it's
out pollen,
any number of outdoorsy things. The very next week, I got allergy tested, which was planned anyway. And it turned out I'm allergic to nothing outside. And the only thing that I was allergic to that day
is horses, specifically,
horse.
Not fur. It's just horse. That's
no cat,
really
no
interesting.
dog, horse.
Have you ever ridden a horse?
Yeah.
And you were fine? Late stage allergy. I'm
54 years old. When I say that I have ridden a horse before,
when you were a kid.
How far back do you think that goes?
I would assume it was in El Dorado, but I rode some horses in Brinkley, Arkansas.
It has been probably at least 35 to 40 years since I've ridden a horse. So,
that's really sad, though.
I know. I'm not sure why it's sad. Anyways,
wait. What do you think about cops on horses?
I don't feel like there's a great answer to that question.
I feel like it's wildly ineffective.
Depends on what you're trying to accomplish, I guess, and where you are.
What do you need a horse for, though?
Where, like in a park?
Get like a moped.
In a park?
Yeah. Not a moped. What are those things that like you can, mall cop rode it? You know, what are those? I feel like if they rode that in a park, you'd get anyone. But getting on a horse, there's certain space limitations that are going to be happening.
I feel like we shouldn't lie to the people here. We paused.
Yeah.
So that I could look up the answer is Segway.
It's Segway.
It was stuck in my brain, but I was not going to be advanced in this podcast until we got past it.
I just feel like if you're anywhere and there's a horse chasing you, there's a lot of ways to get away from that. But if someone's coming at you with a Segway, that's such an easy dismount than to... Like a park ranger could have a horse, that's fine. But like... I
don't think Segways are as fast as you think they are.
But you're closer to the ground and you could dismount really easily.
Also being on a horse is probably a lot more intimidating than a cop coming at you on a Segway
just get like super low. 4 miles. I feel like they could get super fast ones.
Okay, we'll have to share this idea with that podcast I was listening to.
Okay.
And my guess is, we covered that already. You just have to.
We've already thought about.
You just have to listen to our podcast about Marcus Aurelius, and at minute 17 we talk about why cops ride horses. But we're not talking about that today. We are on the parable of the wineskins in Matthew chapter 9. And so to set the stage, we were just in Matthew chapter 7.
Correct.
We ended up the Sermon on the Mount with Jesus saying, listen and live, don't listen and die. And wow, he's got so much authority. And then, as I said, that Jesus is then going to make a transition to establishing who he is. We've established his teaching, and they're astounded by his authority. And now he's doing a lot of healings. He is casting out demons. He healed the centurion's servant from a distance, which, like, it's one thing to do a healing miracle right here. It's another thing to do long distance healing. He calms the storm, which is next level. So he's doing all these things. We get into the point where now he has he's about to heal somebody and says, hey, your sins are forgiven. And so you can't say that. And it's like, what's harder? Tell a paralyzed guy to walk or to say his sins are forgiven? Just so you'll know though, walk. And he stands up and walk. He's like,
I don't think we give enough credence to what it would be like to stand in the presence of one of those happening.
Right.
Like, I think you would be like stupefied.
I think it's a little bit like, again, not to just keep coming back to this.
The horses.
No. Our trip to Rome and Greece, and you're just kind of walking, and it's like, and this is where Julius Caesar is buried, and you're like, wait a second.
What?
I guess that is a real person. And if he lived, it was somewhere. And if he was buried, it was somewhere. And it's here. It's like, it all just seems more real. It's not that I don't believe that Jesus literally healed people.
Yeah.
But it can feel just like it can still feel like a story.
Yeah.
But like to be like,
no, that really happened.
That real, like a real, and like to see somebody who had been paralyzed their whole life just suddenly stand up. And it's crazy to me that after seeing all of that, that the Pharisees are still like, I don't think I like this guy.
Right.
I think we got to do something about this.
There's something weird about that.
Well, I mean, it just goes to how much of a threat he was to their power
The
and authority.
regime,
But
yeah.
that is still not what we're talking about today. So he heals the paralyzed guy, asks Matthew to be one of his disciples. And so we're learning a lot about Jesus, his power, his authority. Take a little break here with Matthew, and he's like, he's got a passionate heart for sinners. Go back to the centurion. He's got a passionate heart for Gentiles, which is different. So we're painting a complex picture of him, and enter in some disciples of John the Baptist.
Okay.
Verse 14.
So they've been following
Matthew
him this whole
9.
time.
The disciples of John the Baptist?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm sure they've been around long enough to kind of keep an eye on it, but the fact that they are described still as John's disciples make it sound like they hadn't quite made the
jump.
They hadn't quite made the leap yet.
Okay.
They're still
Even
hanging
though
out with
he's,
John the
like,
Baptist.
famous for pointing to Jesus.
Right. Hey, I'm here. I gotta go down. He's got to go up. You should go follow him. And
they're still like,
he's still got some guys, which I have lots of questions about.
Yeah.
Why would John be like, I'm actually gonna start I'm gonna start farming now, so I don't even know why
Get
you
away
guys are
from
hanging
me.
out. What's he do? Like, what's he doing? Right?
Yeah.
I have lots of questions.
Yeah. Okay.
We can put
That seems weird.
We can put that in the podcast. What were minor characters doing during this event? We could just try to figure that out, like what the church lore is
like,
around that.
shoo. That's what John should be saying.
Like church lore around things that were happening at the time of the Bible would be really interesting to me.
That's just like not important. But
I actually did
interesting.
a research project on that in college. Some of the legends that were birthed out of things that happened like during the Gospels and during Acts that were come up with later in the Catholic Church. Really, actually, if you study the history of Peter, you'll know that Peter and it's just a story that they essentially made up in order to justify their position on a particular theological controversy at the time.
Yeah,
it was. It's
because surely there's not that much written about those random guys other than the Gospels, because it's not like they were like.
There would be later reflections on them written by other people.
Not like people were following them at the time.
Yeah, there's not like some book, some biography on John the Baptist.
Right.
No. All right. John's disciples, verse 14, Matthew chapter 9. Then John's disciples came and asked him, "How is it that we and the Pharisees fast often, but your disciples do not fast?" Jesus answered, "How can the guests of the bridegroom mourn while he is with them? The time will come when the bridegroom will be taken from them, then they will fast. No one sews a patch of unshrunk cloth on an old garment, for the patch will pull away from the garment, making the tear worse. Neither do people pour new wine into old wineskins. If they do, the skins will burst, the wine will run out, and the wineskins will be ruined. No, they pour new wine into new wineskins, and both are preserved." My first and immediate thought to that is, how frustrated must have those disciples of John have been
when he
by the
didn't
answer to that question.
Yeah.
It is one thing for us to try to reflect on, and we will, like, what was Jesus really saying? And we're given enough time and distance from it and learning more about Jesus and all these things, like, yeah, I mean, it can become now obvious to us what he's saying. But again, you don't have any church history. You don't have any post-resurrection or crucifixion knowledge. You don't really have you don't have any developed Christology at all, except for, at a minimum, John the Baptist saying, "Hey, this is the one that we're waiting for." So you have an inkling that this guy's probably the Messiah, but you're skeptical enough
that you're asking a pretty direct question.
And that you are still being identified as John's disciple.
Right.
Okay. And you say, okay, the Pharisees, they fast.
And we do.
We fast. Why don't your disciples fast? And he goes, man, you party while the bridegroom's with you, but eventually the bridegroom's going to get taken away, and then they're going to have real reasons to fast. And besides, who puts a new patch on old pants or puts new wine into old wines? You can't do that.
I imagine John the Baptist disciples looking over at Jesus' disciples, and they're like, I don't know, man. I don't know.
I imagine them kind of nodding behind him, and then
like,
and then
actually,
kind of,
no idea.
Actually, no.
Yeah,
Like what a like just
but I have multiple questions.
okay.
Bridegroom is the husband,
Mhm.
right? In the marriage ceremony.
Right.
And they're probably like, are they leaving for their honeymoon? Like, why would they be taken? Like, they would have no context that this is probably meaning like him
Right. So
leaving after resurrection.
the bridegroom is Jesus.
Yes.
And so then by implication, the bride is the disciples.
Oh.
And while they're together, and the fact that he uses bridegroom instead of husband, imagine that you are still in the party season, right?
Okay.
However long the receptions would last, or however long what we would call the ceremony, the receptions, the honeymoon, right? You just imagine that window of however long a period of time that was of just kind of celebrating. During that period of time, no one's fasting. You're not fasting
when the party's going on
at the wedding reception,
right?
The bride certainly isn't. We're partying. And then he says, but the bridegroom is about to be taken away from them, which is a really confusing addition to the metaphor, because who took him?
Right,
why?
Yeah.
Like that's a tragedy. He is foretelling a tragedy that you don't anticipate and doesn't make any sense. But eventually the bridegroom is not going to, but eventually we'll have to go back to work, and then it's time to get back to normal life. That's not what he says.
Yeah.
Eventually we kind of got to go back home and get back to business as usual. That's not what he says.
Yeah.
This is the bridegroom's going to be taken.
And then you'll mourn.
Yeah. Like
what wedding is this?
What happened? Like what? Yeah. Like why? And so again,
you're saying that the bride is the disciples?
Well, obviously, during the first coming of the Messiah, he had to die on a cross. The suffering servant. It's in Isaiah, guys. But I mean, they were so far removed from that that none of that would have made any sense to them.
Right.
At a minimum, maybe they could have caught. He's talking about. Okay, the disciples, while they're with Jesus.
Maybe, but he called himself the bridegroom.
Maybe you catch that. I'm like, no.
All right, then hop down. They're putting wine in skins.
Right.
Ugh. Like, that's gross.
Well, I mean...
Like, the only context today of wine not being in a hard shell is like getting a box wine. But I think that they acknowledge that's
wine, there's
gross.
A bag in there.
Well, I know, but the box wine, there's a bag. But if you just received a bag of wine, that'd be like, ooh. So they put it in a box to cover up the bag. So this sounds really gross.
That is just something culturally that you have decided. But the fact that you could make, cases of sorts of things out of, we'll just say, instead of saying skins, what if I said leather? You can make sorts of things out of leather, and that you can, it's not like they just cut the skin off a cat and put wine in it. I mean, it's not like that. I mean, skins, the wine skin is what it's called. Like you're making something, and things that have, done not only then, but for hundreds and hundreds of years after that, of using, what we would now call leather to make items that you can wear, that you can use.
So they'd show up to the party and be like, I got the wine.
Yeah. What else were they going to have?
Like a vase.
Yeah. So it's the kind of thing that, like, it's just an easy way to, again, now they use, these barrels that they put the wine in, and to allow it to ferment and have a much more
potent,
advanced
reaction
process. But for them, the process that they would use was to put it in these brand new skins that then, as it's fermenting and changing, the skin itself has the flexibility and change to be able to change with it.
So that's what he's saying, that it stretches when it stays in there for a long time.
Yeah, it has the ability to stretch and move over time, as
Okay.
opposed to something that has been used a while, has already been stretched out and worn. If you put new wine in there and then it starts to change, it's going to be so brittle it changes. And so that would be for them one of the advantages of using wineskins, because it allows it to ferment while it's in there.
Right. Okay. Cultural differences.
Right. I mean, they're not firm. We're not even after all the advancement, the wine isn't fermenting in the bottle.
Right.
It is once it has gone through that process. And this is the process they use by which you take new wine and then turn it into drinkable wine. You put it in these skins. It allows it to ferment. It changes its composition while it's in there, and then the skin can kind of change with it. That makes it now the drinkable wine. And it doesn't have to be gross because of the process by which they treat it. It's not like, it kind of tastes like sheep.
Ew. I just now think if any beverage was handed to me in a sack, I'd be like, I'm not like to the age of needing.
One of the things we have established over the course of this podcast is your inability to live in any generation other than the 100%, one you were born into.
100, without a doubt. I'm not too embarrassed to admit that.
There's no such thing as any sort of real sanitation or plumbing or anything like that.
Which is disgusting.
The fact that you're drinking wine out of a cured animal skin would be the least disgusting thing that happened to you that week.
I don't know. I would probably starve and die because I'd just be like, I'm not drinking that.
Forget obviously if you time traveled, anyways. But the idea is that again, you don't put an old patch on new pants, because again, new pants
those are saying the
stretching.
Same thing.
Yeah,
the garment
the exact
and the
same
wineskin is the same.
There's a mismatch.
Okay.
An old rigid patch can't cover up a new hole on a new pair of pants because it's still stretching and expanding, and it would just pop off and be brittle. Same sort of thing in skin. You pour wine into an old wineskin, then as it ferments, the thing would just explode. And so there is a mismatch in quality or type to the point to where you can't do that. I think mismatch is probably
the best way
for you.
So he's saying that he's a mismatch.
Well,
no.
What is he? Again, from the disciples' perspective, nobody knows what he's talking about.
And it's also
they
very
are talking
different
about
from the
an
bridegroom.
old way of approaching spirituality in a relationship with God. That the only way it's 2,000 years later, a very works-based approach to spirituality. In order for Peter and James and John to be spiritual, they must fast. No, they're with me. And now you're trying to take this practice that you say is necessary when really the only thing that is necessary is me. They have more than what they need right now. They have everything that they need. They are as connected with God as one can be because they are connected to me. I am the new wineskin, and you're trying to take.
So what of John's disciples or the Pharisees? Were they fasting of the end goal to get closer to God?
Yeah, it was high levels of commitment and obedience that determined your status
of closeness to God.
Right. And he's saying it is actually relational closeness to me. And you're trying to combine a rigid legalistic approach with the newness of life is actually found in its connection to me. Which he has not said.
He did not say
in
any
way, implicitly or explicitly up until this point. The closest is what we said last week, where he's like, he speaks with so much authority.
Yeah.
He is showing a lot of authority, but I would not say that we have gotten really close at all at this point to a grace-based approach. I mean, he's talked some about they have more access to God than what they think. We've talked about that in this podcast about God is nicer than you think. You have more access than you think, and how mind-blowing that would have been. But at this point in the story in Matthew chapter 9,
to be confusing. I definitely feel like it would be confusing to the extent of fasting for the good points versus well, he's telling them they don't have to fast because he's there, but fasting because that makes me closer to a relational point. To where like them thinking like what is hanging with you
in relational terms,
but like him saying like what does having time with you have to do with fasting, where he's like, well, that is the point because they're with me, they're as close as possibly could be with me.
Again, if we're talking about what they understand,
they didn't.
The disciples of John are just like, why even? This guy's not even. Whose idea was it to come here and even ask this guy? Right? It would have just been. They would have just been confused. But what we can say is, what you're trying to do is put me into your old model, which is life is about obedience and rule following. And if you try to put me into that, it explodes. Because what I'm doing is something very new, and what you're talking about is old and busted.
But he kind of answers it in two states. Like he's essentially saying, I'm here, so don't even worry about the question that you're asking. But
yeah, he sort of answers it in the first part. They're not fasting now because they have everything that they need with me. But there's going to come a time when they're going to be in a really difficult place, and these sorts of disciplines will help them. But your whole approach
of why you would use the discipline
is in fact misguided. That one must do this in order to stay in God's favor. That is an old idea that is old and crusty.
Yikes.
And if we take what I am and the new thing that God is doing now and put it into that, it's just gonna explode. So you need to just be thinking about everything new in a completely new way. It's not that we're doing away with fasting, but what you're talking about is old and done.
The motivation too.
Yeah, the motivation and the reason behind it. I must do this in order to maintain favor with a harsh God who is watching me closely and judging me based on my relative obedience at any given time. That's an old idea. It was never right, but it's an old crusty pair of pants is what it is. And it just...
Did it used to be like a weekly thing, like Sabbath for them?
I don't know that we have a high level of indication at this point, like that there was some necessary regulation, but it does seem like based on what these guys are saying and just kind of their generalized approach, it seems to have been very regular.
Okay.
And they've been following Jesus long enough now
to observe that he's
to have seen is like, man, it seems like those guys eat every day.
That's a lot of watching.
It's a lot of watching. But I would imagine you notice it more like the first day you're fasting and you're there with them is like, man,
they're eating.
That's great that they get to eat.
Yeah.
And then
the next day.
And then you're eating with them the next day. And then whenever it comes back around a week, 2 weeks later, and you're not eating, is like, they're still eating. Probably somewhere around my third go at fasting, I'm like,
come on. You saying I can skip this?
So what is happening here? These guys are good. We're good. You're not good. Why aren't your followers good?
Okay.
It's
so they're not necessarily...
First of all, your practice, you would never fast during a party. Okay. They're going to come a point where they're not at a party, and then they'll want to. But your whole worldview's wrong, actually.
So do you think that they're coming to him because they're interested because they see his authority, or do you think they're like I don't know you if you're as good as John thinks you
He
are.
is supposedly next level, but you seem to be failing basic level.
Okay.
How can you be the one that we're building? Like we've got this, and now you're helping us build on that. Well, you're not even. You're supposed to be the one that teaches us calculus, and you don't even seem to know how to count. Why? What is up with that?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I mean,
so they're more so questioning him.
Yeah, like we know that following this discipline this way is essential to godliness. You're supposed to be somebody, but your disciples don't do that. Why? I doubt it was coming from a perspective of, man, they have to fast, we have to fast. Looks like your guys don't even have to fast.
Let's join that team.
Why's that?
Yeah.
I don't get it. It's kind of like tell me.
Yeah.
Because I think
it's
Jesus'
more so
answer,
like, we're trying to call you out.
His answer would have been different. It would have been like, seems like everybody else, but your guys have to fast. What's up, man? Why do you guys have such freedom? I think it really was, we're all meeting the basic, you're not even meeting basic standards. And yet you can do all these things and you speak with such authority. Why are you not doing it? And he's like, and again, it's a two-part answer. One, they're with me. It's party time, metaphorically. And
it's party time.
Your whole philosophical approach
Framework
to
of all of it.
God is just old. And it's done for. We're doing something new now. Yeah. And so you need to wipe your old approach. Again, he doesn't say we're not going to fast anymore. In fact, he specifically says they are going to fast someday. So here's the seasonal reason, but also I question the premise of your question. I don't like the premise of your question. Premise of your question is wrong. And here's I don't want to say why, but theoretically, and here's why.
Well, it's kind of a bummer because there's not, well, maybe it's later, but there doesn't seem to be a passage afterwards where the disciples are like, okay, but like, really? What did you mean by that?
Yeah, so they're standing there behind Jesus going, right.
What he
Patches
said.
and skins.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure the disciples of John walk away confused, and Jesus kind of turns back to him and they're like,
they're probably like, wait, why haven't we fasted?
So I didn't have the question before, but maybe I do now. Why don't we fast? Why just sit? No, no.
Yeah, say it like a normal person.
Who's the bridegroom, and what does this have to do with wineskins?
I've never thought about them being the bride, but I guess that does make sense. And like, the person would only mourn once the bridegroom had left, which would be them. Yeah, I mean,
so it's a fairly common metaphor, and we'll see some more parables later where Jesus is the bridegroom and people who follow him are the bride, and we'll see more of that. It's pretty common. Paul uses it. Ephesians 5, husband, wife, Jesus, church. Parallels. Yeah. It's a fairly common one. And again, it only makes sense in this context for the disciples to be the bride, because again, why is the bridegroom being taken away, and obviously describing such a tragedy? It would be a tragedy to the bride. Yeah. He's not just saying, it's like the people watching the wedding and then the bride and groom left.
Right.
And the party's
actually
over.
Like the receiver of the relationship leaves.
And now you are in grief, which, again, that seems to point to Jesus as bridegroom, disciples as bride.
Had he talked about his departure up to this point?
No, this is, again,
really early on.
No one who heard this who had any idea what he was talking about.
But had he started talking about it at that point? No. Okay.
No. In each one of the Gospels, at least Matthew, Mark, and Luke, there's a very distinct transition point
when he
starts to talk about it, and the whole tenor of the Gospels change. Okay. There's there are different points in there, but you can kind of see it. It was like, one of them is like, and from this point on, his face was towards Jerusalem, and it just kind of, the whole narrative begins to shift. But we are still in the the upward momentum of who even is this guy?
Mm-hmm.
And then we kind of reach this pinnacle. Here's who I am, and here's what I have to do. And then it starts to decline towards the tragedy.
Yeah.
At least from that particular narrative view, right?
Well, the only other feedback I have on this one is linguistically, bridegroom seems silly to me.
Instead of just groom?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I work a lot of weddings, and if I the whole entire day refer to the bride as the bride, but the groom as the bride's groom, that'd be so like, yeah, we get it. He's connected to her. Just call him the groom.
It would seem at some point linguistically we decided that we should just
cut it off.
We'll just shorten it. We'll just shorten
He's just the groom,
right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, that's the insightful point that we're going to leave on. Thank you, as always, for your great questions and riveting debate and
linguistic analysis,
horse talk. Anyways, and thank you guys for joining us. As always, really glad that you're here. Encourage you to keep coming back. Again, we're a little bit more than halfway through. We've got several more parables that we're going to cover, and love for you to keep joining us. And we would love to connect with you on a Sunday if we haven't. You can find us at thegrovechurch.org and find out everything about our services. There's a form you can fill out to let us know that you're listening and tell us any way that we can help you, any questions you can have. Either way, we would love to connect with you in person and online. And so glad you're joining us, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for listening to the Cultivate podcast. Our hope is that you are taking steps to go deeper in your faith, that you are asking big questions and you're looking for answers. We hope that we can be a resource for you through our podcast and any other way that we can help you. You can find all our episodes anywhere that you can find podcasts, including YouTube. And again, thank you so much for joining us.